Hi guys, my name is Juliet, aka Jet. Welcome to my channel, Jet Study Buddies, where you can learn all you could possibly want to know about learning disabilities. So, today we're going to cover common symptoms of learning disabilities, but disclaimer, this doesn't mean that, you have a learning disability if you have these symptoms, and it also doesn't mean that you don't have it if you don't have all of those symptoms. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a senior in high school, and these are just common symptoms. They aren't necessarily proof of a learning disability, but they are indicators on to whether or not you should get an evaluation. Just a reminder, learning disabilities are not intellectual disabilities. They're not hearing or vision problems. So if you have any of those problems, you might share these symptoms, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a learning disability. We're also going to cover common symptoms of ADHD, which is not a learning disability, it is a learning difference. For more information about those kind of differences, what's the difference between a learning challenge and a learning disability, what's the difference between ADHD and ADD, those sort of things are in my earlier video. I'll put the link to the description below. And if you're curious about the stats, facts about learning disabilities and learning differences, whether students get a lot of support, social stigma, what percent of parents would tell other parents if their kid had a learning disability. Those sorts of things are in another video that I'll also put the link in the description to. I really recommend that you guys check these out, share the message with a friend or a family friend. It doesn't matter, just anyone you know. Alright, so to start off, we have common symptoms of learning disabilities just in general. So again, this is really just a general gist of the different problems and experiences that people with learning disabilities may have. Alright, so problems with reading and writing, problems with math, poor memory, problems paying attention, trouble following directions, clumsiness, trouble telling time, of course when you're younger, and problems staying organized. For instance, a lot of people have problems staying organized, so it doesn't necessarily mean you have a learning disability, but if you have a bunch of those symptoms, or you notice it's very severe compared to other people, then that is kind of a reason that should motivate you to consider seeing a doctor, getting an evaluation, or to motivate your parent to considering getting an evaluation. If you notice these symptoms and your parents don't, then you might want to, have a chat with them and ask them, depending on, of course, if you're an adult or not. So, now we're going to go on to common symptoms of dyslexia. So this one, is a more common type of learning disability, a little bit more specific. This might give you a little bit more of an accurate gauge to see if you should get an evaluation. Dyslexia, just for a review, is defined as a learning disability affecting reading and language processing skills. It is also the most common type of learning disability, fun fact. So if you're reading well below the expected level of age, that's definitely a sign. Difficulty finding the right word or forming answers to questions, problems remembering the sequence to things, difficulty seeing and occasionally hearing similarities and differences in letters and words. That's kind of a concept known as phonetics. And then there's difficulty reading, including reading out loud, especially that one. Slow and labor-intensive reading and writing. If you notice that reading and writing takes an abnormal amount of energy for your child / you, or a loved one, that's definitely a key component of dyslexia, among all these other things. Difficulty spelling, avoiding activities that involve reading, mispronouncing names or words, or problems retrieving words, difficulty summarizing a story, trouble understanding jokes or expressions that have meaning not easily understood from the specific words, idioms such as a piece of cake, meaning easy. Those are kind of just, signs, but again, some of those signs, like understanding idioms and jokes and expressions, are also signs of autism. So there's definitely overlap, and you definitely don't want to rush to make any assumptions. This is also signs for dyslexia that are before school. Late talking, learning new words slowly, problems forming words correctly, such as reversing sounds in words or just confusing words that sound alike. Problems remembering or naming letters, numbers, and colors. Difficulty learning nursery rhymes or playing rhyming games. All of those things are kind of indications that you might want to get an evaluation. And just remember that early intervention is really, really important. It's key. It's a huge factor in allowing your kid or yourself or your loved one to get support as soon as possible, as well as feeling, kind of understanding what they're feeling, understanding what they're experiencing, and it can open the door for greater progress. So definitely try and intervene early, even if you're not sure. So, common symptoms of ADHD, which, fun fact, I have, being unable to sit still, especially in calm or quiet surroundings, constantly fidgeting, which is kind of similar, being unable to concentrate on tasks, that's kind of the most known one, excessive physical movement, excessive talking, being unable to wait their turn, acting without thinking, because people with ADHD have a lack of kind of self-control, interrupting conversations, again another indication of that, poor time management, time blindness, their brain has struggles to process time properly. Trust me, if you know me well, that's certainly applicable to me. Impulsiveness, we kind of talked about that. Low frustration tolerance, sort of related to kind of the acting without thinking, the challenge. It's challenging to be patient and wait their turn. Trouble multitasking, that kind of relates to their trouble focusing. And then disorganization, and problems prioritizing. So, they might decide to start working on something that they don't need to work on while ignoring very necessary tasks. So those are all common symptoms of ADHD. Again, can be a tricky thing to diagnose. And also remember, there are different types of ADHD. There is a predominantly inattentive type, and then there's also a predominantly hyperactive type, and then there's a combined presentation, which is when both of those symptoms are shown. I go more into that in my video about the different types of learning disabilities / learning differences. So you made it. This is the last one. These are common symptoms of dyscalculia. So difficulty counting backwards, difficulty remembering basic facts, slow to perform calculations, weak mental rhythmic skills, a poor sense of numbers and estimation, difficulty in understanding place value. Addition is often the default operation, so that's really the one that they kind of use the most, feel most comfortable with. High level of mathematics anxiety. You kind of see these symptoms in some ways parallel across learning disabilities like dyslexia. There is a tendency to avoid the thing they struggle with, to kind of have a lot of frustration and anxiety around it, which is completely understandable and completely normal, because this is a really challenging task for them to learn the way that others do, and they really shouldn't be expected to learn the same way. And then another symptom is if you struggle to read charts and graphs, and just an easier symptom to kind of pick up on if you're a parent or a guardian, is if they have trouble measuring things like ingredients in a recipe or liquids into a bottle. Trouble with measurements is a huge symptom to kind of pick up on, but also keep in mind that, especially if your kid is really young, they still might have trouble with some of these things, and that doesn't necessarily indicate that they have a learning disability. So just, you know, be open-minded. Okay guys, so that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for listening and watching this. If you enjoyed this video, if it helped you in any way, even if it's just helped you, you know, understand that there's a lot of different ways to, you know, someone could struggle with things, and to kind of show the differences between the learning disabilities, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, and please share this with other people. That's the whole point of me doing this. And just thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.